Great, there's so much damage to this hood that needs to get fixed. Today on Smacky's Garage, we're working on a Factory 5 GTM. We're gonna get the hood on the car, which means we need to cut holes for the radiator, we need to get the headlight buckets to fit, and there's a lot of damage on it that needs to be ironed out. So let's go ahead, let's jump into it and start getting this hood on the car. I'm also gonna make this light bucket fit here. So I've had an issue where it doesn't wanna fit in. Essentially, there's too much material on the back side of this light bucket, right here. You can kind of see it where I've started to sand away at it, but it makes more sense to actually cut a piece out here so that it'll fit in. And while I'm doing this, I also have to do some body work to fix this giant crack here on the hood. So now I'm gonna just cut this out just to see if I can get this to fit, because right now this will not drop in at all. All right, well, it's kind of sitting in there, but I think what you don't see is it's probably gonna need some pretty major work to get it to fit right. So on the back here, there are adjustments and they're contacting the body here. So that needs to be taken care of. So this all needs to come apart. I need to figure out what needs to cut, what doesn't need to be cut, and then fix it. So we'll do that next. So essentially what I'm gonna have to do is probably take off half of this all the way around, because it's not going to fit correctly with it, this being as big as it is. So I'm going to end up marking this out, cutting it all the way around to give me enough room. I still need the edge, enough room here to get it bonded to the vehicle though later. All right, so I've taken it and I've really beveled a lot of the material here so I can do some body filler in it. But what I need to do, I think, is I'm going to work on the other side, and I'm going to essentially use some fiberglass mat and strengthen this area up. But first I need to fixture everything here so that it stays in one position. And if this works out well, I'm also going to have to do the same thing over here on the inside. All right, so I took the hood outside to start looking at the front that I need to cut, measure it. But the first thing that I noticed is the amount of structural damage on this that needs to get repaired is pretty significant. You know, there's a crack there, a crack on that side, crack in the center, crack here. So a lot of work to do here before I'm getting that ready, but it's good because I get to practice on this side that isn't visible first before I do any other work. So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna grind these out, then I'm gonna fill them with some fiberglass mat and then some vinyl ester resin to keep them all together. All right, so I went ahead and I cleaned up all these fiberglass areas. So I ended up beveling each different edge of the cracks, and I ended up putting some resin down, then some fiberglass on top of it. I only did one layer right now to see how it holds. You know, I used plenty of resin. If I need to, I can sand it down, add more, but this is a good first step just to see how it comes out as I experiment with this. Now for the headlight bucket over here that is cracked, I did not do that one yet because since that one is exposed, I want to make sure that I spend a lot of time making sure everything is lined up before I go ahead and do that. All right, so you can see the fixturing that I did there, using these race ramps to hold this up so that that glues in place and everything is structurally sound. So now that that's done, I'm gonna go ahead, we're gonna move over to this crack and get that sorted out. So you can see both sides here are damaged, so I need to grind this out, probably grind out the other side too, fill it with fiberglass, and then use some of the filler to clean everything up. All right, so today we're gonna mount the hood to the hinges. There's two on either side, there's a lot of adjustment, so it should go pretty smooth. Okay, so you can see the hinge down there through the hole where the headlight's gonna go. It mounts to the back of the fog light. You can see there's a lot of adjustment there. There are slots down there, so plenty of room. I'm gonna go ahead, we're gonna attach this now. So the thing I'm noticing here is these slots are actually undersized, so I'm having some trouble getting it to move at all. So I can either grind down the bolts there, or I can open up the slots. I think it's a good excuse to start using this. All right, so not the ideal way to set it up as I'm still learning how to use this. It'd be better if I had some blocks under here to support this, but since I'm only doing some sideways action, it's okay. This doesn't need to be as perfect as before. So I need to take off 7 thousandths off of this to essentially be line to line. So I'm gonna take off a little bit more than that on both these sides, here and here. And I can see here I only had to take off a little bit of material on both of these. Now it should fit better. Okay, there we go. Now I have both sides taped up so I can start putting together the bolts on the front that hold the hinge on. This should help keep everything aligned. Luckily I was able to just use some blue tape on it and it's still holding pretty well. Still some more work to do here, but you can see it's starting to shape up. Do have to reshape this. All right, now let's get these headlights to fit in the hood. All right, so we're definitely getting closer. But even though we're getting closer here, this apparently needs to be cut to fit within the groove. I did not notice that before. So not only was the hole not big enough to fit, I also need to trim this down too, which I guess I'm gonna end up doing. Now, one of the other things I can do while I'm here is I can cut out the air scoops here where the exit from the radiator comes. So the radiator is down here, it picks up the air, and it's supposed to exit up here. So without these holes, there really isn't any airflow. So both of these need to be cut out. Okay, so we got the hood holes cut in it for the radiators. Now you can see the radiator up front, both fans there. This is covered by a grill. You know, these aren't perfectly straight, and I didn't try to cut them perfectly straight with the saw. So I could actually take a large block like this and block it down so they're flat. You're gonna get it close by using the saw, but you're not gonna get it perfect. By using that large block, I should be able to clean everything up. Now, on the headlights that I'm working on, there's some decisions to be made here, and I'm gonna wait for my friend when we look at this, but one of the things, so it's fitting better, but one of the things that I noticed is there's actually a lip up here that's not the right shape of the hood. I mean, it's hard to see, but when you look at it, since this is up, it's just not fitting into this groove correctly. So there are some options. I did trim this down here to get it to fit a little bit better, and it still needs to be sanded down flat, but it's definitely not going to sit flat right now just because of that groove there. So I got to figure out what to do to that. But the piece up here came up pretty well. That crack is fixed on both sides. The crack over here I ended up fixing. This is fixed on both sides. Body filler on this side, crack on the other side has the fiberglass mat in it. So overall, it's coming together. Unfortunately, I've run into a problem. I seem to only have one headlight bucket. Now, when my friend got the kit originally, it came with 2 driver's side headlight buckets. Now, I'm stuck without a passenger side, so I gotta figure out what I'm gonna do there. The hood fits okay. I've noticed it did slide a little bit when I put the struts on it. It actually pushed it back. So I need to go ahead and I need to loosen everything back up, push it forward again, and then try it again. Well, there we go. The hood's on the car. I think it looks pretty good. Thanks for tuning into Smacky's Garage. I'll see you next time. I have no idea how I'm gonna get these to fit.